usually you have to do the prepping on site. You have to go to the store, buy the stuff, and prep on site. You can't take it home and refrigerate it and all that jazz and then bring it back and do any of the prepping. So all of the prep happens on site, and then that's how that works.
Welcome to the Charcuterie Launch Lab podcast, where passion meets profit. If you've ever dreamed of turning your love for charcuterie, or food of any kind, into a thriving online business, well then you're in the right place. We're Andrea and Patti, the Grazing Biz Sisters. With over 60 years combined experience as a chef and digital marketer, we have walked in your shoes starting our own online businesses. We'll share all of our tips, advice, struggles, and best strategies to help you launch and grow your own online foodie business with ease. The Charcuterie Launch Lab is a space for all food creators and entrepreneurs just like you. Let's dive in and get your yummy business launched online, one board at a time. Hey, it's the Charcuterie Launch Lab girls again, baby.
Hi, everybody.
Hi. I was listening to our podcast the other day in the middle of the night, and I'm like, God, I'm talking fast. I'm going to try to start slowing down a little. I'm sure everyone will be happy for that. It's like,
You mean
holy
like when you're
crap.
listening to it, just listening to it, not watching it?
Yeah, when you just listen to it and not watch it, it's I was just talking fast, and then you kick in, and then you're like nice and slow and a normal speed, and I'm
If I
like
do
crazy.
my
Time.
Wyoming drawl, is that what I'm doing? The
Yeah, and
slow
I'm doing my
Wyoming.
type A, I gotta get shit done kind of conversation
Guys,
talking.
is this taking way too long?
I know. Yeah. So anyway, so today actually that I was listening to it, we are launching a lot of people in the Launch Lab, which is yay, the Charcuterie Launch Lab, who are actually starting a charcuterie business before they do anything else. So I spent a little time this week helping people get their charcuterie site up and running, and it occurred to me we had some questions, and today I talked with somebody who was coming on and she had some questions. I'm like, this is a good discussion. Like, how do you start a charcuterie cart business, not just a charcuterie business? Because it's a little different, right? We know from having done it. So we have a few things that we want to kind of go through, that what might be different about it. If you're thinking about it, or maybe you already got a charcuterie business and thinking you might want to get a cart and start that, what's going to be the difference between just selling your boards from your kitchen or wherever you're at? So what do you think? Is that a good discussion today? I think it is.
Yeah,
So
it works for me. I mean, we certainly see charcuterie carts are just like the rage. Now, and I don't, just like anything else, there is no way that things could be saturated unless, you live in a really urban area and there's one on every corner. I mean, we're not Circle K or whatever you have, you're not
Walgreens,
7-Eleven
CVS.
or whatever it is. But, I just think that it is something that can help some people get through or make a decision to go one way or the other, or
Yeah,
do both. I don't know. I don't know
right.
why we do both. So
Yeah. Well, how about we first talk about what a charcuterie cart is? Because there might be people, I know there are people that have not heard about it. And
mhm,
I don't
mhm.
know, I don't want to say you're living under a rock, but if this is brand new to you, you might be wondering what it is. So, Andrew, why don't we start with you kind of explaining what a charcuterie cart is versus like the difference between selling a table of charcuterie versus a charcuterie cart option.
So charcuterie for most people is where you go and you buy the products and you order a tray or even a grazing table, which is the full table, like you take a 6-foot table and you fill it with stuff, with food, whatever the genre or whatever it is you're going to do with it. Most of it is should be cheese because that's what we talk about, cheese and meat.
Yeah,
But the
whatever.
charcuterie cart is essentially the same thing, only what you're doing is you're rolling a cart in like a coffee cart. So it's similar to what looks like a coffee cart, and you roll it in, and it has all these little compartments in it that you keep the little products, the cheese pieces and the meat pieces and the olives and whatever are all in separate compartments, and you can put together either as people order, customized. So if they come up and they say, I want this, this, and this, or you can just make it standard and this is what you get and you put it together and they watch you do it.
Right.
It's more of a performance
Yeah.
piece,
Yeah.
because you're going to do these as people order them, as opposed to, the cart, the tray being already
So
made and
there's
put on the table.
Yeah, so I would say that the difference might be too is to kind of explain that. Is there somebody there actually manning the cart
Right.
versus walking up and picking out what you want? You're actually you or someone that works for you is there behind the cart with tongs, digging pieces out based on the way the agreement that you have with the event, whatever the event is. Now, and we're going to put a video or image over the top here for those of you who want to go to YouTube and see what we've done with our cart. Was we did build a cart a couple months ago, and had our first cart event for those of you who have missed that in our podcast. But so I guess let's talk the difference between the way that the kind of events that you're going to, I think is kind of key with this, because as opposed to you're creating a board that somebody ordered and you're enclosing it and packaging it up and you're going to deliver it or wait for somebody to come pick it up, versus this possible bottomless cart type thing that you're doing, depending on the way that the event is. So I guess how I like to look at it is the difference between a public event and a private event, because you're
Mhm.
getting paid in advance for the private event, most likely, like a wedding,
Right. So you would
versus,
get,
yeah,
yeah, without having to cut you off. Yes, you would get, you would charge a fee for that 1 hour or 2 hours. So every hour is a fee, or maybe you want to do a flat fee. Everybody does it differently. But I personally do just a 1 hour fee. And if they want me for 2 hours, then you charge them twice that fee.
per
And
head though, right? Though, I mean, you're going to go,
there's a fee. In my case, there's a fee on top of what they're getting charged for the food. The
yeah,
fee is going to pay for your time
yeah,
and, your
delivery,
effort to get
gas.
everything set up and make it look cool. And therefore you have that extra fee. And a lot of people love that. It's, again, it's a show. So it's a presentation situation where, you're going to get dressed up and look all nice and beautiful and whatever it is your garb is going to be. And then, and you're serving people one at a time.
That's that would be the private event, right? So the private event
Right.
is you've been paid in
Right.
advance for some amount, which is usually based per head. What I'm seeing out there in charcuterie land is $20 to $25 per head for
Mhm.
everybody that are going to be at the event, plus the setup fee, which you're calling it, or delivery fee, or whatever, service fee. I mean, you could
Mhm.
charge a setup fee and then charge also a staff fee for being there, if for however many hours that person's going to be there. But I would roll all that into one flat fee personally. That's me, but you can do what you want. Are you tired of guessing what to charge for your boards? Are you spending hours shopping and prepping only to wonder, did I even make money on this order? Hey, it's Grazing Biz Sister Patti here, and I get it. Pricing your charcuterie boards, tables, cups, and carts shouldn't feel like throwing spaghetti against the wall. That's why Sister Chef Andrea and I wrote Charcuterie Profit Secrets, the book that shows you exactly what to charge, what to buy, and how to finally run a profitable charcuterie business without burning out. No matter how long you've been in business, you'll learn our pricing secrets on how to buy smart, price confidently, and reduce waste while making real profits in your charcuterie business. Grab your copy at grazingbiz.com/profit secrets and turn your passion into a real paycheck.
Mhm.
Okay, so let's talk about the difference between that and a public event where you're maybe out at a market like we were at getting hailed on.
Yeah, we got hit by a
Which you
monsoon.
need to go back
For,
and listen to
for those
that.
that, yeah, for those that have not heard that one, go back and I don't know what number it is. You know which
I
number
think
it
it's
is.
18,
So
18
go
and
back and
19.
listen to our anecdotes about getting monsoon hit by a
Yeah.
monsoon in the middle of all of it. But yes,
The
in that
difference.
case, then you're setting up, you're paying the fee to be there, usually at a public event. If it's a farmer's market or whatever, they always charge some kind of fee. You pay a fee and then you're going to charge per whatever it is you're
What,
making.
yeah, they'll come up and pay individually. So you got to
Right.
have payment processing software on site for
Hmm.
taking payments and cash, right? Okay,
Hmm.
so we've established what a cart is. It's kind of like I always kind of because I'm used to seeing hot dog carts around, but it's kind of like a hot dog cart
Hmm.
ish.
Hmm. But it's
Uh,
nicer.
but it's way nicer and you don't have greasy, hot dogs in there. But
Greasy
well, maybe you
water and
got greasy sausage instead.
so
Greasy
as soon as
water.
you said that, unfortunately, the first thing that went in my head was like, the steam water is just gross. So, that's
Yeah.
exactly what I saw was the hot dog steam water. Gross.
Yeah.
So
But you get
anyways,
the idea if you're out on the street corner and you see a
the
cart. So
rolling
it's
cart. Yeah.
similar to that size. As far as sizes goes, actually, I was looking at that. Our size because I was actually asking my husband randomly about that today, I think ended up being the cart itself is 48 inches wide and 28 inches deep. And then it was 30 inches tall, not counting the wheels. And then we had side tables that came up that popped up, which we'll show you the pictures, but that was 12 inches on each side. So when you add 24 inches onto the 48, that was what, 60 inches. So we had a good 5 feet
Hmm.
of, space. And then inside of these things are the metal containers. So we already kind of gone into what those containers look like, but you do want to have some sort of container in there. So, all right. So now that we've established what that is, let's talk about what is the difference between setup and getting licensed and permits and things based on. Okay, let me back up actually because depending on where you're at, you
Hmm.
may be able to do this out of your home kitchen. We can in Arizona we can create charcuterie boards in our kitchen because our cottage law allows it, but there's rules around packaging and labeling, and that just goes along with the cottage law. So we're going to talk about that because we are getting a lot of people listening to us who are selling just baked goods
Right.
and trying to get their business online. So the cottage law itself in every state and county, city, whatever, is different, right? So, but similar in general. So let's talk about that cottage law a little bit. Tell us what your experience is in Arizona
Okay.
and not in Arizona.
Yeah, so first I'm just going to go general.
Yeah,
Okay.
let's go
The
general.
the cottage law across the country almost I believe I looked into this and now it's been so long I can't remember, but every single state has a cottage law available, which means that you can make things in your kitchen and then go sell them at markets or drop off at people's homes or whatever. Now, usually this all started with people making bread. It's been like
Yeah,
the sourdough
yeah,
epidemic, so,
yeah.
or I should say
Right.
pandemic, because that's really where all of it took place was people were making sourdough for whatever reason because they were bored and didn't have anything else to do, and sourdough does take time.
Yeah,
That's the reason why I don't do it.
yeah,
But it takes time and people love it and whatever. So they've created this whole sourdough evolution, revolution, whatever.
yeah.
And now people and you can sell any kind of bread product. Most of the states will allow breads, cookies, cakes that don't have buttercream icing, so things that don't necessarily go bad easily are okay to sell out of your cottage kitchen.
Hmm.
So usually, like I said, it's sweets like cookies and cake pops and things like that without the buttercream. So
So yeah, I didn't
easy
understand.
fairy.
Sorry, I didn't want to interrupt either, but the
Sure.
buttercream thing, I didn't realize that that was part
Yeah.
of the law. So what is the problem with buttercream
The
versus
reason
what?
is
Royal
because,
icing or what? I mean, what's?
right, as opposed to like a royal icing.
Yeah, and I would
So
say that's not the case everywhere, but is it
it
or is
isn't. I'm
it?
just saying
Okay.
that's why I'm saying this is all the general. This is
Oh.
general, like across the board, pretty much every state is going to allow that without the buttercream icing. And the reason buttercream icing is an issue is because it's made up with butter and it's perishable. So
Mm,
it can go. moldy over days. Everything can go moldy, honestly, but
You go
it's
bad.
harder. You have
Yeah.
to keep it refrigerated. Whereas other icings, you might not have to. Like,
Okay.
for example, royal icing or the little drizzle icing that you might put on you know, um, a cinnamon roll or something.
Yeah. Okay.
So those kinds of things are acceptable. So that's the general rule. And most states, I will say, do not allow jams and jellies either because
You
there's a
might
whole
not
process
get
to that.
canned
No
correctly.
canned goods, no pickled goods. All of that stuff is not allowed in a good majority of these cottage laws. Then there's the people, the next tier, which is the states that do allow the jams and the jellies and the buttercream icing and all that stuff going on. So there's all these different tiers that go on. So always check your county, always check your state laws, your health department, your agriculture. Some places you have to go to an agriculture site. It's all sorts of screwed up. But if you do your research, the internet tells you everything you need to do.
Yeah.
Literally. I
Yeah.
mean, I can figure this out. So, and I'm not the
If you
best.
can, anyone can.
If I
I'm
can,
kidding.
trust me, Pete, people.
Well, okay,
So,
so now that just we can help you with it too. I mean, that's what we do
yeah, yeah,
here
yeah,
at the
yeah.
Charcuterie Launch Lab and Grazing Biz. But
We've gotten
um,
good at it.
yeah, well, we've got search tools and all that we've created too. So
Hmm.
anyway, so all right, so you have to determine whether or not, at least with regard to the carts or to making charcuterie in general, can you do it at home? Meaning, can you cut up all the stuff? Can you then, in the cart instance, take it and put it in a cart, take it with you and put it in a cart while you're out at an event? So the difference then is it public versus market versus, because we didn't finish talking about the rules and regulations at public markets
Right.
versus
I was
a
getting to that.
private, right? So what you're going to need permits probably when you're out at an event that is public, that is going
Hmm.
to be required. And those
Hmm.
permits usually, I mean, let's just not, we'll set aside the fact that we all know that we're going to need to get food handlers licenses. We all know that
Right.
no matter what happens, that's part of the process, right? So
Right.
but the permitting for a public event versus if I just go set up at a wedding, not really required, right? So tell us about
Right.
that.
So you have what's called, like, in most states, it will be called something like a special event food permit, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And in that case, you can usually apply for it, tell them what you're going to make, tell them how you're going to handle it, give them the layout of your space, and then usually you have to do the prepping on site. You have to go to the store, buy the stuff, and prep on site. You can't take it home and refrigerate it and all that jazz and then bring it back and do any of the prepping. So all of the prep happens on site, and then that's how that works. So if you go to a farmer's market or you go to a craft fair and you want to do a special event, food vending license, that's what happens there.
They'll usually tell you what the permit is. The event
Yes.
organizer is going to say, hey, you have to get this permit and you need to have
Yes.
this license and you need to have that, are they going to require TPT and,
Right.
which
So
are
that's a whole nother
your
thing.
sales tax things.
Sales
And
tax licensing. Yeah.
yeah, they'll
So
tell you what you need.
And they'll require it. I mean, they won't require it out the gate for you to pay the fee usually, but they will require it for you to set up because they don't
Okay.
want to get in trouble.
Yeah.
So they want to make sure that you're all legal. So there's been, like, our show, I had to go show her, I had to email her everything once it all was said and done.
All right.
So there's that. And then for a wedding, that's a whole nother story. So if your cottage law allows you to prep at home, you can prep at home and then you go in and you bring your stuff and you set up or you deliver your board, however you're doing it. And that's what, so that's how that works. But you may have to go rent
A
a
kitchen.
commercial kitchen. So
Right.
that happens too. And we've
Right.
talked about that. I don't know the number on that one either, the podcast, but we've talked about that extensively as well, is
Right.
renting a kitchen from
Really dependent on
wherever.
the county. I mean, your state's going to have laws. Your county's
Mhm.
it's mostly county related. In
Yeah,
Arizona, or in the
mostly.
United States, if you're in Canada, you'll have laws that you'll need to follow based on your provinces and your maybe your cities.
Hmm.
I would also say, and I'm going to bring this up because some HOAs, homeowners associations, are going to have laws and rules. Well, I would say
Yeah.
rules about running businesses out of your house. So
Hmm.
that's a whole other side of this.
They
If
don't like
you're,
it.
yeah,
Hmm.
well, I'm not saying they won't like it, but if you've got people coming by and picking stuff up and you're dropping things on your front porch for them to get or whatever, which was not recommended in Arizona right now or anywhere probably in the United States. Don't leave cheese on the
I
on the
know.
front porch. But I just would say make sure that obviously we can't hit home enough, making sure you understand what you're allowed to do or not do, all the way down to your homeowners association if you live in one of
Hmm.
those kind of communities.
Yeah.
Now, again, I want to go back though, because how easy it is for all, and we're just giving you advice. We're not telling you what you should and shouldn't do. What you get away with or not get away with. Again, that it's all up to you to really make sure what you can do and can't do. But I wanted to just be really clear about that because, like, I was chatting this gal today, and she says, "Oh, I already have my cart," and and she's in Texas, and she said, "Well, there's a good chance that the law's changing so they can start doing things at home." But she's only, and when we say doing things, we're talking be able to sell perishable food from home, sell and cook perishable food from home.
Hmm.
But then she said, I'm only going to do a cart. And I go, well, I'm not sure this is going to work. The cottage law may not fall in for you because that would be you making this at home, packaging it at home, and then selling it and bringing it to the event all enclosed
Hmm.
with a label on it. So that is not probably what you want to do with the cart. Going to fall under the cottage law,
Hmm.
right? So I think that was kind of eye opening to her. So I said, but that doesn't stop you from still doing this. You just got to make sure that you're doing it out at the site. If that's, but check your laws, right? Or, however you're going to go to the private event, go
Hmm.
show up as a private chef, which again
Right.
means whatever it means, right?
Personal chef. So yeah, same thing. Yeah, and that makes a lot of sense to do the personal chef, do the prep on site, buy everything, go to the place, do the prep on site, and then open up your cart and start, you
Yeah,
know, handing
right,
out food.
right.
So that's where there are so many avenues, and I'm sure we're confusing the bejesus out of people. But the reality is, it all boils down to what do you want to do, and how do you want to
Yeah.
present yourself? These are the different ways that you can do it.
Right.
And I don't know if that makes sense to everybody. I hope it
Well,
does.
I think from talking to a lot of people, most like there's another person that we worked with this week who said, I'm not going to do anything but private events. So that's going
Right.
to make your life, I got to think it makes it a little bit easier to some extent, well, maybe a lot, um, because there's no question you're going to get paid a certain amount. Ideally, you're
Yeah,
getting
yeah,
paid
yeah.
before you walk in the door. So there's that whole side of it because, like the issue we had where the weather kicked in. We had location issues, stuff you can't plan enough so
Can't
much for in
control.
advance and can't control it a lot of
Mhm.
times. And then next thing you know, you've bought a lot of product that is not going to be able to be dealt with. I mean, you won't be able to sell it all, right? So, and just as a reminder to folks, we did write a new book on pricing
Mhm.
for your carts and your boards and all that. So you might want to check into that at grazingbiz.com/profit secrets. And you can go check that book out because there's a difference in the way you're going to price and the way you're going to order and buy for these events, which brings up our next question. So now, well, I guess let's back up though. Before we do that, let's talk about making that cart. Where are we getting these carts from? We're getting a lot of questions about that. There's a bazillion places you can get the cart. You can make it yourself. In our case, my husband actually went on Etsy, believe it or not, God bless him, and he got a plan from Etsy originally so that we can get an idea of the one that we wanted that was actually almost had no hardware on it except for the things that held up because everything went in. So however you want your cart made, ideally you can go online and see all the different ways that people have made their carts. And then there's companies out there. We actually are now providing the cart as well. If you want to have us make it, we can do that. And I'm looking into us getting plans that we can sell, but right now it's not on my hit list at this very second because we have a few other things we want to do. But getting your cart, you can just go Google because there's a million,
Yeah.
or someone local that is a craftsman,
I don't
can
even
make it.
remember how we started with the charcuterie cart thing or where we were going with that. Or I think you might have just sent me, somebody on Facebook and you sent me a post or a reel and I was like, oh, cool,
Look
let's
at
do it.
that.
Next thing we knew, we
Yeah.
were building it and planning it and all that
Yeah.
jazz.
I
So
mean,
it,
we built it quick. It was
yeah.
only in, 3 or 4 days after we figured out which plans we were using. So it didn't take that long to actually get it done. I
Hmm.
think the bigger discussion we had, Andrew, was how are we going to, like the individual, and we've gone through this, and we'll put a picture of it here for those on YouTube, how the individual containers that the food is in. So we're going to talk about that for a little bit now too, is just because the issues we had at that event, keeping the food cold, especially since it was an outdoor event, it was 80 some degrees out.
Hmm.
But the individual containers versus the one that was housing it all into one buffet pan, which we felt was a better plan because we could keep things colder keeping them together, which you've probably heard us talk about at nauseum in previous training or in previous podcasts. So, but the reason we did that, you want to explain why we're doing that for those who haven't heard that yet?
Yeah, well, my theory behind it was that using the single buffet pan with six different smaller pans in it, which in the restaurant industry we would call sixth pans. So you have one big hotel pan, and then there's six pans inside that pan, and there's space underneath to put the ice. And the reason I said we should do it that way versus a single little pan and then another pan inside of that little single pan. I hope that makes sense to everyone.
Yeah. Well, we'll put a picture of the one we
If
have.
you put the big pan with the six pans in it, you're gonna all those little pans are keeping each other cold as
Yeah.
opposed to one pan keeping itself cold.
Right.
So everybody has their own opinion. That's mine.
Yeah. And
Just
we're sticking
because,
to it.
as a former big time caterer of thousands and thousands and thousands of people, I know the best way to keep things cold and hot, and that just made sense to me. So,
Yeah, well, and I think what we found, for those of you who haven't heard from our previous podcasts, was that we did have issues still
mhm.
because there was too much food in the containers, and then the interior center of those squares in the 80-degree plus heat did not keep them cold enough to where they needed to be at 41 degrees. And so, what the health guy said was if there was a way to circulate air up into the top of the section of the pan. So, actually, and I've talked about this, my husband's kind of working on a prototype for this, trying to see if we could figure out a way to do it where we're running air, cold air, and we're going to be basically making what we call a swamp cooler.
Mhm.
Evaporative cooler type system out of a cooler. So he's working on that. And actually, he was able to get the air to come out at a pretty good clip. So between the bottom and the top, that should hopefully keep it cold. But so you've got the whole thing you have to consider about keeping things cold. And I see a lot of comments about that. And in the cottage world, I'm because I'm really following a lot of the bakers because I love to bake and I'm just obsessed with watching people pipe flowers onto cupcakes right now. It's like what is that thing where you like to watch things and it just you get it
Oh,
like,
ASMR.
yeah, that's what I'm
Yeah,
having with these piping cakes thing.
it's
I don't
just
know, it's so weird.
relaxing.
Yeah,
Mhm.
it is. And I'm jealous because I want to learn it, but I am going to try to figure it out. But anyway, but I'm finding though, even in those groups, the people that are trying to keep their icing cold and outdoor events, they're having the same problem
Yeah.
because it's melting all over the place. And so
Mhm.
I guess it doesn't matter whatever you're doing. Most likely, even if it's a chocolate chip cookie, you're dealing with
Right.
chocolate
Chocolate chip
chip.
cookie. I sell I have sold in the past at different markets a simple chocolate chip muffin mix. So the
Uh-huh.
chocolate chip muffins were melting inside the packaging
Yeah.
on our stupidly hot days.
Yeah.
Granted, I'm not out there in 118-degree weather, but I'm out there in 80-degree weather.
That's all it
And the
takes.
chocolate chips were melting and I had to put them in coolers.
Yeah.
So, it's always got to be a thought process. If you're selling, for example, like brownies with chocolate chips in it or double chocolate chip brownies, or which is I think, another great product. I'm getting sidetracked, but that's another great product
Squirrel.
to consider for your cottage business is brownies. People love
Brownies.
them.
Yum.
And there's just this endless array of great sweets. I know it's
Mm,
not healthy for us, but hey, you know what? The bottom line is you're not buying the mix at the store, which is full of the preservatives and all the
yeah.
horrible things for you. So it's this versus that. Do you want
I
homemade and
think, yeah,
know
I
that it
think,
came from a beautiful kitchen that's, where there's no preservatives involved?
all right.
Or do you want to go buy the box stuff at wherever it,
Speaking of beautiful
I'm not gonna
kitchens,
throw anybody down the under the bus on that one, but I could.
yeah. Speaking of beautiful kitchens, I don't know if you're on YouTube, you can see that Andrea created some new
I went on
AI.
AI and created, so you guys don't have to see our blur of our backgrounds anymore. I think this
Well,
looks a little more aesthetically
well,
pleasing.
it's challenging with my gray hair too, because if we
Yeah.
do blit and it's light in my office, so it's all bouncing off my hair, so
And
it's
I
not
have
good.
gray hair, but I'm not as gray as she is. So
No, I've been as great as I am now, as long as you are, as old as you are.
anyway,
Something's wrong with that picture. Okay, so we've established, does the cart business, understanding what you have to do health wise, and I'm not going to get into, yeah, you should go and get your licensing and
yeah, you
your
guys all know
LLC,
that
and
we're
that
gonna
part's
keep
all.
saying,
Yeah,
yeah,
that part's all kind of important that you all should know. We're just trying to talk about the difference between should you start a cart business or maybe even sell other products, which I see absolutely no reason not to if you've got a desire to want to sell other things. List off some other things that you sell outside of, like, we know you do the dry soup stuff and the dry
hmm,
packaged. The other one of my favorite things is, I'm from the Midwest, and I said to her, one of my favorite things, and my sister-in-law had to send this to me because we don't have it out here in Arizona, but Bob's Big Boy seasoning salt. I love
yeah,
it. And I said to Andrea, God, it's been a year or so now. I said, can you make me some? So every year at Christmas, I get a big jar. I love it.
yeah.
So,
And so
so yeah.
I do the seasonings, and what I do focus on is not necessarily making my own. Well, they are my own recipes because I've developed them to be copycats, if you will,
Sure.
from other restaurants. And I've chosen restaurants that, well, take that back. So I do have a Red Robin version, just because I do like Red Robin, but Fuddruckers, which came out of San Antonio originally, and for just historical reasons, it was the actual very first food place I ever worked when I was 16 years old. And
Hmm.
worked at a Fuddruckers, and I love the seasoning that they have. It's kind of a spicy, sugary thing. It's weird.
Yeah.
And then, of course, well, we don't call it Bob's Big Boy, but Big Boy out here in the
It was
West,
Bob's in
it is
Michigan.
called Bob's.
Yeah.
But in the
Yeah, Big
Midwest,
Boy.
it's Big Boy. You guys all know it from Austin Powers and all that stuff, the Big
Oh
Boy
yeah, that's
thing.
right.
So, anyways, so I sell the seasonings and I also make earrings. It all started with I just wanted to go do craft fairs, and because I just thought it would be fun. And they are fun, but they are still a lot of work, and we can talk about that at some point. They're a lot of work for one person, just to set up and stuff.
Yeah.
But I make my own earrings. I don't have any on right now, but I make earrings. Everything I do is food inspired. So if I make earrings, they've got, I don't know, banana peppers on them or something.
Yeah.
So the
Shrimp.
big shrimp. Yeah. I mean, you
It
go to
goes over
Timu and I
big.
find shrimp, like, little resin shrimps and stuff like that. So I sell all kinds of stuff because I'm always trying something different. I get bored.
Yeah, but
I'm
it's
just,
foodie related.
yeah,
So
everything is food related. Yeah.
I guess the point I'm making is that while you're out at these events or wherever you're at, there's nothing stopping you from selling other stuff. And why
Hmm.
not? I mean, when we
Hmm.
talked about the last event we did, we sold drinks. We had
Yeah.
lemonade and iced tea, which actually went over massively huge, and we sold more per numbers of the drinks than we did anything else because it was warm out,
Yeah, it was
and we
90
did sell a
degrees
lot of
outside.
that number wise. Income wise, it was obviously the charcuterie cart that we had out there selling, and we were selling as far as pricing the cart on a market. You're going to sell them probably for $15 ish, I would say. We did 15, and then what was it, 25 for two? So if they bought two, we
Yeah.
gave them a
So if they
deal.
bought two, they
And
got a
we sold
better
a few of
deal.
those,
Yeah.
plus some breakfast stuff because we happened to be out there in the morning for breakfast, which is a whole nother setup because we had to have, you
Yeah.
know, a burner and pans and stuff like that. And then obviously, depending on what kind of outdoor event you're at, if it's an event like, we were at, we had to have hand washing sinks and all of that ready. So that was a whole side of that too. So make sure that you just know what your requirements are in your neck of the woods for setting up at every event you're at. Obviously, you want to be able to wash your hands no matter what. Whether now, do you need to have a hand in Arizona? Do we need to have a hand washing station at a private event because we can go into a bathroom? I mean, yeah, no. Most of the time, we're
No,
going to be able to access.
because most of the time there's going to be some kind of restroom area for you to go wash your hands.
Yeah,
So
right.
again, check with your health department.
Yeah, yeah.
Everybody's got a different rule.
Different
I don't
rules.
want to say, I don't want to say anything when it comes to that kind of stuff because it just changes.
Right. Now,
Most of the time you don't.
if you're prepping things out at the site, like you were saying, then you want to make sure you have a cooler and a way to keep everything
Mhm.
cold that you're not actually putting into the containers because you want to have backup, right, available. So that makes sense. We need to have coolers that are going to keep everything at the right temperatures. And I guess on that note, then, how much do you think we need to have? So, I brought up the bottomless thing because I hear that all the time. Bottomless, come on up and get as much as you want over. So, some of the stuff I've seen is like, well, how do I buy for something like that? Even if I know I'm going to be there for 2 hours and there's going to be 200 people there and I'm charging and I know all this, how do you buy for that?
Well,
Because
you're going to buy a percentage for each, you're going to want to provide for each and every person because that's
one
what these
serving.
people are paying for.
Right.
They should be paying you per head.
Yeah,
So,
but how much do I expect to serve 200 people if they come back more than once, right?
right. And
So
that's always the tough call. If you're going to do a bottomless thing, I know a lot of people talk about bottomless. To me, that's like doing an all you can eat buffet. That's a crapshoot. You are setting yourself up for a difficult situation. I personally don't do bottomless. I
I wouldn't
say,
use the term anyway.
right. Well, they do use the term.
Yeah, I
They
wouldn't though.
they're using the
Yeah,
term to
right.
bottomless whatever. I mean, that could go so out of control. Or else you say it's bottomless, but
Until I
well,
run
it's not
out.
even yeah, it's a bottomless doing, which really doesn't make sense. I was going to say that, but that doesn't make sense. So personally, I don't do bottomless. I say I'm providing for 200 people. When I run out, I run out.
That's right.
You're going to have enough for 200 people. If we get more than one person coming up at a time, there are people who hand out tickets or they give them something on their place setting and they can go, they go and they can get their one serving of whatever it is you're providing, and then that's it. So otherwise you really are setting yourself up for something that could turn out to be a nightmare. Now, if it's only an hour's worth, maybe a bottomless would be okay. I don't know. I
Yeah.
don't do it. I personally don't do it only because I've done, you know, buffets are hard enough, for 2,000 people or whatever I've done in the past. And
Right.
I wouldn't want to set myself up for failure.
I just
But
stay away from that term. There's got
yeah,
to be a better way to
I would
because
just
here's the
say it's always going to be enough. It's always going to be enough if they give you an accurate count and you have enough food for everybody. That's it.
So what does
It's
that look like if I know there's 100 people there and you're saying 2 ounces, 3 ounces of
right.
sausage meat, what do you recommend for something like
Well,
that?
I don't want to, what I would say is go to our book and figure, there's calculations you can do to make that work. And it's hard to bring that up off the top of my head because everybody's got a different thought process about it. But
Hmm.
if you stick to 2 to 3 ounces of any given product and you have maybe 6 or 7 products, maybe 8, depending on what it is, you're going to be fine. And then you
Hmm.
make that one amount for everybody and maybe bring a little bit extra in case you drop it on the floor or something catastrophic happens.
Or
So
you eat it
you're always gonna
yourself.
you're always
You're
gonna have
eating
to
it.
have a little backup just in
Oh,
case you
sure.
screw up or
Yeah.
something weird happens.
So
So
let's talk about those products that you would put in a cart. On standard, you're going to see, what are we going to see? We're going to see
you
some sort
see,
of sausage and ham of some sort,
yeah, and
or
always a sausage, always a ham, always at least a hard cheese, at least one if you can do it, a soft cheese. We did brie, we pre-cut them, or we cut them on site actually, separated them by parchment paper, which worked out fabulous. So because otherwise the cheese sticks to each other and then they're just a mess. So we separated everything, including we did a sharp cheddar. We did that and we separated those with little parchment paper pieces.
hmm.
A little tedious, but at the end of the day, when you're trying to reach in and grab something, it's
It's
the
quick. It
best
was
way.
quick
You're
and
not
easy.
fumbling. Yeah, you're not fumbling around.
Well, the
And
serving
then,
was there. That was nice because I just knew
right,
that in between each sheet was a serving
right,
that made
right.
it life easier for
And
sure.
olives, tomatoes, nuts,
Dry fruit of some
dry
sort.
fruit. Dry fruit works great. And it's also a filler. Like the nuts and the fruit are great fillers that are inexpensive. So if you're trying to fill up a plate and make it look nice, the last thing you would throw in is the nuts and you just kind of sprinkle them all over the place, or the dried blueberries or the dried cherries or cranberries.
Right.
So those are just,
Yeah.
ideas.
So we did prep up some salami roses, which actually didn't take as long as I thought they were going to take. So we did prep that up. We also prepped up skewers that had the was it tomato and
Olives
the
and
olives?
tomatoes. Yeah,
Yeah.
we did the
Okay.
olives and tomatoes on
Yeah,
on
so
one
that's as a
skewer.
sample of ideas. I mean, the possibilities are endless. And I was kind of like, oh, we need something sweet on here. So we found some really yummy butter cookies that were happened to be on sale at Costco, a whole big box of them for like $5. And
Hmm.
so that was nice. So we put a little couple cookies on there. What else did we do?
So the one thing I
Pretty
would
much it.
say is that, I mean, we can go back to that podcast, but we also provided gluten-free and we did sell a couple of those. Only
Yeah,
because people are all in that gluten-free era right now. So you want to
yeah.
have some kind of, we used crackers that
Yeah.
were,
And we
you
had a honey
know,
packets in this case, and we did have a balsamic drizzle for those who wanted that too.
mhm.
So, and in this case, for those of you who didn't hear that, we actually did have homemade, which we go back to this because Andrea made homemade flatbreads that we used in place of crackers. So we really didn't have crackers. She made
Yeah.
the flatbreads, which this is where it got funky because when she was talking to the health department, they were saying, well, if you're bringing flatbreads that you made, that's now under the cottage law. So that she had to package them up, and they checked it too.
Mhm.
Package them up and label them to bring them along. So she labeled them with her own labels in a bag. So
Yeah.
that because they were made at home, she
Hmm.
could do that. But
I
otherwise, we
remember the
would have
guy
to
going,
make it on the
the health
site.
department guy going, he kind of did this sideways glance and he goes, well, he's not like
He's not
apparently
the
the
cottage
health
law guy.
department doesn't deal with the cottage law portion of it. And he goes, oh, well, that's cottage law. You're good.
Yeah, he didn't care. Yeah, he
He
didn't
didn't care,
care. And I'm
but
running around in the background going, God, I hope you're not getting caught on this
I
stuff. So
know
I'm like
they were, well,
stashing
I mean, I,
stuff.
I packaged them up and
Yeah.
labeled them and ended up selling some on top of that because some lady had asked me, can I buy just a package of flatbread? And I'm like, hell yeah, you can
Well,
buy
in the
whatever
end,
you
that was,
want, lady.
yeah, in the end, that was really good. Yeah. Do you want the
Yeah.
rest?
I
Did
think I ended up selling more than one because then we just were like, well, let's just put some out,
put them
and
out
that's what we did.
there.
So
Yeah, it was a good
you never
idea.
know. You never know what's going to drive your business, and that's the goal here. Is be open to whatever. Don't be too hung up on whatever you got going on. Try to be open
Be
and realize
flexible.
that you just never really know. You
Right.
never ever really know.
So let's talk about if we're out at a public event, how do we get paid? So we know in advance that we're going to have a contract probably and get paid in advance. Let's talk about really quick before in the private event that you would take a down payment over a certain time, probably when they book it, right? So that you can hold the date and then maybe take the rest, what, the week before. So you have the money you're going to go shopping now at this point, right?
Mhm.
So what, like, is that what you'd recommend as far as having a
Everybody does it.
contract?
Yeah, everybody does it differently. I don't have a particular like do what makes you feel most comfortable. In my case, I take all the money up front.
All of it.
So
Okay.
all of it. All of it.
Yeah.
You want to book this event? You can still get your money back up until I think I have a 30-day thing on my contract. But most of these people that I get around here, I live in a very rural area, guys. So most of the people around here are last minute. Oh shit, I forgot to book something, or let's do
Oh,
this for this weekend or whatever.
they're not booking months in
So
advance. They're
yeah,
just like,
so
yeah,
usually they're already 30 days in or whatever. I don't get that many bookings that are any further out than that. So in my
yeah,
case, I'm taking all the money at once. I
yeah, that
don't.
makes sense. Because you
But
don't
if
want
you're
to,
doing it right, if you're doing it 6 months, because you don't want to book that out, and then all of a sudden 30 days before they go, oh, never mind, we don't want to do it. Can we have our money back? Like, no, you may not. So
at least not
I,
all of it.
I
Yeah,
already lost that schedule in my
yeah,
case because here there's just so many people that just book within 30, 60 days.
yeah,
So they pay right out the gate,
right.
and you don't get that money back unless if you cancel 30 days before, and it depends on my schedule and how things are going, but I set it up to where you just don't get the money back.
Yeah.
It is what
Well, that
it
makes
is.
sense. And if you want to do that, if you want to book in advance, and this reminds me of I used to have a VRBO, like a rental house, where we
Mhm.
would take money up front to hold the date, and then within a certain time window, which you would put into the contract because they would sign a contract. In our system, we have electronic signing and contract templates and all of that, so you can just send it out, and you would just have a preset contract you're always going to use. Plug in their information, put the date in there, boom, it's done. But you do, like Andrew said, do what you want. But, there's no way within 30 days I would give all the money back because I
Right,
blocked that weekend or
right,
whatever, right? And so that was the same thing. We would have a window and say, you could only cancel. And then if you cancel within this window, you're only going to get this much back if you get
right,
anything back,
right.
depending on when that
So
window.
I usually say they're not going to get anything back
Yeah.
because then they're more likely to not, you know,
Cancel.
not cancel. Now, I
Yeah.
won't lie that there have been people that have canceled at the 30-day thing. And in that case, I start off with, I'm sorry,
Yeah.
bummer. So, but if they have a legit somebody died or something awful happened or the kids split up or who knows
Yeah.
what,
Yeah.
I'm always sympathetic and
Do
empathetic
your
to that.
best
And
to
if I
try to work
feel
with
like I
them.
can fill it in, then I'll give them some money back
Yeah.
and just be the good Samaritan. But there's just so few and far betweens on that.
Yeah.
I think I've only had that happen like once. So
Yeah.
I
Okay,
don't.
and so then at the public event, then obviously you want to have a way, like in our case, our website, we put the products right onto our website that we were able to use. And then as a result of that, it hooked into and you can't see with this lovely new kitchen I have in my pink phone, but hooked into our point of sale software.
It doesn't
Yeah.
work.
Yes, chef. You have on the back of your own. That's cool.
Okay.
It hooked into our point of sale software so they could come up and actually tap. So just as a refresher, just make sure before you go out to the event that if it's a big event and you're anticipating any kind of phone connection issues, make sure that you're asking the event organizer if you have a backup or to be able to hook up to an internet somewhere near, because thank God we were able to do that because it was very crowded. The phone system was not working well because everyone was on their phones. And we had about a 5 minute dead period that we had to go to Venmo, unfortunately. But
Mhm.
we used Venmo as Andrew's backup Venmo for a couple of sales because of lack of internet, which was weird because the Venmo worked, but our point of sale software kind of went down during that time frame. So have a backup. And I'd also recommend whatever your products are, you've got them pre-made. So you're not like going, oh, that was $15, 1 5, hit this, because instead they were in a list on our product list, and all we had to do was pick it out and then grab their card. And that was the other thing I did not realize because this was the first time I used it, that some cards are not tappable.
Mhm.
So you got to be
Mhm.
prepared
Yeah,
for
people
how
still
you,
have the old school ones.
yeah,
So,
for whatever reason. So
yeah,
while you're
it's
out at these
weird.
events, you got to be ready for that. So let me just check. I had a few notes. I just want to make sure that I've covered the stuff because this is really about does starting a charcuterie cart business make sense for you? Just all the things you want to think about. Obviously, you want to make sure whatever your ingredients are that you're getting a good deal on those. And now Andrew kind of went through the kind of things you put on your thing and how you're going to prep and store the food safely. How about marketing? So if you've got a cart business, let's just wrap it up by what would be the way that we could tell the world that we have a cart business now if we are doing this either fresh out of the box and we haven't done any marketing at all, nobody knows we exist. There's a lot of ways that you can market, and I'm just going to say, for those of you who need to lean into your social media because
Hmm.
and get into the groups. We've talked about this where you get into the local foodie groups, the plate groups, the groups that are giving feedback on your local food in the area. You might want to be on your next door app. Where else are you seeing things? It's mostly social media, I would
Mostly,
say.
almost everything is social these days. You're
Yeah,
wasting your money if you're going to try to throw coupons in the value book or whatever it is you think might work. But social media,
yeah.
it sucks, but it's where it's
Yeah,
at.
well, I
So
mean, yeah, you got to do it somewhere,
you
whether
got
it's
to do it.
Instagram,
And
whatever
so
your
your
thing is.
community groups, so even if you're in like the foodie groups and the restaurant groups, your local community groups, because everybody's got those community groups where, they're complaining about their neighbor's dog and they're, saying they've got a yard sale going on or whatever. Those groups are the ones where most people are going to find you. And then you can stay local. You don't have to, travel four towns
Yeah,
over,
right. And
depending on where you live, I
you
guess.
can go into Facebook Marketplace if you want to be ready to be scammed because things will
Yeah,
happen
scam
there.
book. Scam book, that's what that is.
But you can,
Mm,
and you can run ads. In fact, I just am very happy to see locally people are running ads just for a local pool company, but it's catching my eye because nobody else is doing it, a pool
yeah.
cleaning company. So it's not expensive to run an ad on Facebook locally, and especially if you're going to
Hmm.
just stick in the area where you're at.
Yeah.
If you want help with that, come to us because we can help you run ads. The other thing I want to just hit home really hard is that if once you get your website up and running, which of course we can help you with here, and then we're offering free websites for this. So make sure that you're tapping into the Charcuterie Launch Lab. The grazingbiz.com will take you to a demo just so you can see all that we have. But get yourself on Google My Business so that you have, and we're actually working to get Andrea's all up on there too because the new cart business, which we
Yeah, we're
basically
still.
just started, is not even out there. And she's doing dinners now. But
Hmm.
you want to do that, so which means you've got to go get an account set up, which is free to set up on Google. Go to Google Workspace and you can see how to get yourself on Google My Business or GMB. Just look it up because you once you get your business set up and your website, which you obviously need to have a domain and all that, and you can get all that through GoDaddy or we offer website domains. But get it set up and then get on there because you want to start getting reviews. Between you being on there and the reviews will move you up. So when somebody's running
Hmm.
a search for charcuterie near me, you want to be found when somebody's looking. So if you put in charcuterie, mobile charcuterie cart or charcuterie cart, make sure that you're doing, tagging and all of that. Again, I may be way over your heads, but these are things that you should think about because search engine optimization, especially now with AI, is really going to hit home, and it's not going to take much because there's just not enough. You have no competition right now, and if you have some, it's very little.
Hmm.
Those people over there on that side of town can only do so much,
Right.
so don't look at it like, oh, there's already somebody in town. Well, here's what I always tell people is that there may be somebody in town and maybe they already had a bad experience with these people and they'll never call them back. So they're looking for alternatives. You're going to do it way better than everybody else. And as soon as they see you online, make sure that you're taking pictures at every event, that you are promoting them. As soon as you're there, tell people where you're at. Hey, I'm doing this wedding. Get yourself out there. Social media is huge right now. And of course, we provide help with all of that. Again, I can't hit home enough that if you really don't know where to start, this is the starting point, right?
Hmm.
Doesn't matter if what you're selling, what kind of food it is, because we can create, we already have pre-built templates and all of that. So check out our demo at grazingbiz.com. And if you want to learn about the actual launch lab for charcuterie, go to Charcuterie Launch Lab. Actually, I'm sorry, it's grazingbiz.com/launch, but it'll be in the show notes here, so you'll know where to go. But if you want to get started and you want some help, that's what we're here for. And
Hmm.
as you can tell, a lot of what we're teaching you is like trial and error on our end because we've been there, done that, lived it, whether it's me on my marketing side and all the stuff that we're doing, or Andrea on the food side. We've tripped and fallen, and we're just telling you what to do based on not doing what we learned,
Yeah.
from doing it right and or from doing it wrong and then doing it right, right? So
Yeah.
you can make this work, and it's not as hard as you think. And especially the opportunity is amazing right now because people are not wanting to go to restaurants. It's too expensive. They'd rather stay home. And the wow factor that you're going to be able to provide with your cart or even your tables, your gifts. Get ready for gift giving season. I think we'll do maybe one of our next podcasts will be about getting your gifts ready to start giving away. And one more thing, you've heard me talk about getting into the real estate world and getting in front of real estate agents. And so if you go back and listen to the last podcast we did, I talked about it and marketing, the tools that you need, and there's so many ways you get partnerships around, walk in to talk to, all of your local stores, tell them what you do. Social isn't the only way, especially if you're in a smaller town. It's easy to go in and just say, hey, I offer this now. Can I just come and set up? I'll come and set up for an hour, throw some things in there. It'll be worth it and probably make more money at an event like that, I mean, get more exposure at an event that you can do for somebody that in town. Because they'll tell everybody else when they see how spectacular. It's like Andrew said, it's like a show. It's entertainment, you know.
Yeah. Hmm.
So, anyway, so what do you think? I think we covered a
I
lot of
think
it.
that's great. I think if we didn't confuse the crap out of you, that's awesome. We're trying to stay focused on one thing, but one thing I do want to emphasize is that we are working towards helping people in the cottage law
Hmm.
arena. We've gotten a lot of questions about that because there's no one out there to help y'all. So we are starting to work on that now.
Hmm.
So just be prepared that some podcasts are going to, kind of go simultaneously with the cottage people.
Yeah.
So we're happy to help them and happy to have them all here. So
Yep.
hopefully we'll start hearing from them a little bit more. But I mean, it's crazy. We've got people coming from all different places at this point. So
Yeah, I mean, I know it's fun. It's fun meeting everybody, and
mhm.
we're meeting every week with folks that are interested in just getting this stuff launched because they don't want to work for other people.
Yeah.
They're tired of making money for others, and they want to start their own business. And this is the absolute perfect time to do it right now. I mean, honestly, it is because food is expensive, and if you do it smart, you'll be able to actually make a great living and
Or
and
you can make it a side hustle that's just fun
yeah,
and crafty for you to do on the side. And
yep,
you never know, it might turn into the full-time gig. And
yeah,
we would like to see if that's what you want, then
yeah,
we
make it
want that,
whatever you want. Yeah,
right?
exactly. Like you might start seeing me piping frosting cupcakes here pretty soon because it's just I'm so
Just as long as it's
obsessed.
not buttercream. No,
You
we
know,
can do buttercream here actually, so it's
oh,
okay.
I was gonna say
We're
because
fine with it.
I didn't hear that, so I was like, whoa, I
Yeah,
better watch
buttercream
out
is
what I'm
always
doing.
an issue. And it will physically say, I'm not trying to confuse people by going backwards, but it will physically say in the cottage law, buttercreams are not allowed.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
Well, somebody told me if I'm
beware.
going to pipe flowers, I'd be better off using royal icing anyway because it's stiffer. So I'm going to
It
learn
sticks,
that.
yeah, it dries out and does get more stiff. So
Yeah, so that might be
yeah,
better.
it's
But
gonna
that's
be
that's a
better.
discussion for a
Anyway, that's a
different
whole
day.
nother, we could go on forever. All right, everybody. Thank you
All
so
right,
much.
have a great one. You know where to find us. Tell the world about us so you know. We are here for you when you're
Yeah,
ready.
and if you guys want to hear anything in particular, please let us know in the comments. We're
Yeah.
always looking for ideas.
Yeah. Good job. See you later,
Okay.
sister. Have a good night. Bye.
You